Hello, everyone. I'm really happy to see you here. I just want to let you know technology is trying to get me, but I'm going to persevere because we don't need permission. You'll get all of that in just a second. I'm Verna Collins Odom from Podbites with Verna, and I am so happy, as I said, to see you here. We are just actually having our first show in the new year. So I'm going to say Happy New Year, even though we're halfway through or almost through January. So, very, very happy that you decided to spend some time with me here and you are going to be excited to see our guest. I have somebody who is awesome who's going to be on the show. But let me tell you a couple of things first. The reason that we picked our title for the season and the theme is because of this book. I had a guest on, this guy. He is my brother, but also he is a venture capitalist. He wrote this book called We Don't Need Permission. I know on your screen it's backward, but it talks about how Black businesses and women run businesses have changed the country, the world, even. And the thing that really is kind of resonating with me is the fact that we do not need permission. We don't need permission for a lot of things that we do, mainly for those things that we are called to do or destined to do. And in my beliefs, we're destined to do those things because of God. And so, what are you destined to do? What are some of the things that you are called to do? And it really speaks to me to some truths. Those truths are things like we don't need permission to break down barriers. We don't need permission to ask for equity in our lives, in our spaces. We don't need permission to break down things that are biases, things that are unfair, rules, regulations. We don't need permission to get rid of those and to push something forward that is beautiful. But you also don't need permission to continue in your life journey. You don't need permission to go ask for a raise, to get a new job, to leave your job and try opening a business. We don't need permission. And I wanted to talk about that this season because I think it's really important in my life. I'm trying to step out in that more and more and more. But I also am challenging you to do the same. I invited a guest on today. Sorry about that. Invited a guest on today, and she is a young lady. She is quite lovely, quite driven, and that's the thing that really made me want to talk to her about it. And sometimes we'll think, well, does a young person understand, the rigors and we don't need permission? What would she understand? Well, let me tell you, this young lady is a veterinary student. She is at a school in North Carolina, and I'm going to tell you about that in a second and introduce you to her. She's actually waiting behind the wings, and I'm going to get her to bring herself up and she's going to talk to you a little bit. Her name is Nia Powell, and she is, like I said, quite lovely and very, very focused on what is her destiny that she found out about in her life years and years ago. So I see that she is trying to access the stage. Let me see. Now, if you were here earlier, this was not working quite well, but I am believing this time around. It says it's adding her. Let's see if it's going to work. Okay. It looks good.
Yay!
Success. Yes. Oh
Okay,
my
so
gosh, guys,
now I get it.
that was
Okay.
crazy because you did the same thing, right?
hmm
Again, and there
Absolutely.
you are. That's so crazy. Well, I'm telling you, everybody, you are looking right now at Nia Powell. She is a student in the veterinary school at North Carolina State
Yep.
University, the veterinary medicine school. And she is what year are you now,
The
Nia?
third year, so
You
class of 2024.
wow. So you are wrapping it up. And
That's crazy.
I was I was so excited to hear about you, to hear about all that you're doing. I was excited to hear
Yep.
about how you got started. So we're going to get people into this. And the thing that I'm going to do, I added something, brought it back to the
Cool.
show. I used to have a timer. I brought my timer back. We're going to put ourselves on a 15-minute timer to kind of tell your whirlwind of
Okay.
a story. Let people know kind of how you have been navigating and just introduce them to you. So I'm going to start that. I'm going to ask you, I'm going to start it after my first question. So I'm
All
going
right.
to ask you that. But as you know, this season we're talking about we don't need permission. And you and I have had a quick conversation, but there are we don't need permission moments in your life. And I want to start there. Tell me some of those we don't need permission moments that you were able to push through.
Yeah, so I think first, like you kind of mentioned, I've wanted to be a vet since I was a little kid, but my family did not have animals. We did not, I didn't know anyone who was a vet. I don't have any family members who are vets. And so, kind of navigating this, okay, I'm 5 and I'm saying I want to be a vet. How are we gonna get her there? So, I think that was part of the, very beginning of my story. And then growing up, eventually I ended up getting a pet, which was really nice. And so as I'm taking her to the vet and kind of experiencing the vet world, there's no one who looks like me, no
Okay.
one at all. And so what I've learned now that I'm older is that people of color make up 2% of the veterinary space. Like 2% of us are Black, which is not a lot. And so growing up, one of the things I really struggled with was not having any mentors, not really feeling like I belonged or could relate to the field because there wasn't anyone like me in it. And so I feel like that was my first big you don't need permission moment, because despite whether or not, you're surrounded by people that look like you, doesn't mean that you can't succeed in that field. And so I just kept working really hard until one day I finally met another Black vet and was like, we do exist. That is crazy. And it just reignited my whole passion for the field, because seeing someone who looked like me doing the things that I wanted so bad, that really inspired me to keep pushing. And so that was my biggest you don't need permission moment.
That is awesome. Now, I know that we're going to weave through your life, but I
Mm-hmm.
know that you also had some other ones, and you probably don't even see it like this because, when I introduced you, I said she is driven. So you're going to hear the way that she moved someplace to get into school, the school that
Okay.
she wanted to go to. I mean, that's a we don't need permission moment right there. Can you tell us about that? Because to me, you decided, and even before that, let me go back. Even before that, you talked to me about the fact, and I love that you're so open and transparent, but you talked to me about the fact that you had applied to veterinary school previous to that
Mm-hmm.
moment.
Mm-hmm.
Talk a little bit about that and tell people what that felt like.
Yeah. So after graduating college, I had what I like to call my quarter life crisis, where I was like, do I really want to be a vet, or is it just all I've ever wanted? And so that's kind of what I'm doing because it's what people expect. So I took 2 gap years, which was supposed to be 1 gap year, but we'll get there. But I took my gap year and was like, okay, I'm going to try and figure it out. And I think the best way to do that would be to work in a vet clinic and see if this is really the passion that I have. So fast forward, I guess like 20 years or rewind,
Mm-hmm.
I have always kind of liked NC State. I have family in North Carolina. It's a vet school in the city, which is hard to come by. And so that's kind of where I had my sights set. And so when I was taking these gap years, I was like, I know that getting into North Carolina is a whole lot easier if you're an in-state resident. So let me just move to North Carolina, work there, become an in-state resident, and then apply. Because not only is it easier, but it's cheaper. So I moved there during my gap years. And so, as you mentioned, I didn't get into vet school the first time. I had applied. I had failed organic chemistry, for complete transparency, and so I needed that for school. And so once I failed that class, I had to pull out my application and try again the next cycle. Before pulling my application, I had got denied from 2 schools, Ohio and Michigan, and I was still waiting to hear back from North Carolina. But I knew once they saw my transcript, they were not going to let me in. So I just pulled my application and was like, I'll try again next year. So then I applied again, and not getting in the first time was really hard. I started to doubt myself.
Mm-hmm.
I kept saying, NC State didn't deny me, so it doesn't mean I'm not a good candidate and I should try again. But, internally, it was really hard for me to kind of get over that you're not good enough feeling.
Right, right. I want to ask you though, I want to cut in. This story is
Mm-hmm.
so great. Where do you get that? Where did that come from? Because when somebody gets a no, sometimes that is so crushing
Mm-hmm.
that they don't know how to get up from that. When
Yeah.
somebody gets a no, I mean, this is like your dream. Like you said, you've been wanting to do this since you were 5.
Mm-hmm.
And so you get there, you go through school, you finish undergraduate school, and then you move. How does one get the wherewithal and the to get up from that moment, reapply, go through all of that pressure, I would say again, and end up on the other side? Where did it come from?
I don't know. I think honestly, really, most of it is just my parents. Because when I got in, I was like very down on myself about it, and so I was talking to my mom, and I was like, I don't think I want to apply to vet school again. I think I also have an interest in like college administration, and had thought about being an advisor. And so I was like, I'm just gonna apply to grad school, and that's what I'm gonna do, and that's what I'm gonna do instead. And she was just like, Nia, all you've ever wanted was to be a vet, and so things are hard, yes, but that doesn't mean you can just give up on them. I really think you should apply again. My dad and my sister pretty much reiterated the same thing, and we're like, no, you got to try again. And so I was like, okay, I'll say so. So I applied to grad school and vet school, because I was like, I'm not gonna wait, 5 more years to get into vet school, but we'll try again. So I applied the second time, to grad school and to vet school. I spent a lot of money for my peace of mind, but I did that. And then I applied to North Carolina State for vet school and Tuskegee, and I got into both, which I was like, oh my gosh, like I can't do this. And so even though I had gotten to grad school, the second I got my NC State application or acceptance letter, that was the end of that. So
And
I
when
am.
you were That's incredible. I love that story. And when you were in North Carolina, you were working. So you went there, you moved, rearranged your life
Mm-hmm.
to with the purpose, just focus,
Yeah.
razor focus, it seems like, on going to vet school.
Yeah.
And you started working and you were concerned because I know you also told me about your family and you talked a little bit about your dad
Mm-hmm.
and illness. And
Mm-hmm.
I hope that's okay for us to talk about. I know you talked about it
Yeah.
openly
No,
with
just
me.
go ahead.
And so you were concerned about how to even afford school,
Yeah.
but you still pushed forward.
Yeah.
What was your plan once you got into school?
I didn't have a plan. Well, my parents say that I'm a huge planner, and so I had made a budget and I had made the spreadsheet of the vet schools and how much they cost. I knew that it
Mm,
was not going to be an easy feat, which is part of why I took 2 years and was really wanting to work, because one of my plans, or I guess hopes, was that I would be able to save up enough money to at least pay for housing while I was in vet school, because the vet school curriculum is not easy, and so I was concerned about whether or not I would be able to work while I was in vet school. And I knew like my parents weren't paying for it with my dad and everything. Like he, for a while, was contributing a lot to my finances, but once he got sick, that was nothing anymore.
yeah.
So I was concerned about paying for it. But that's also a big reason why North Carolina was so high on my list, because as an in-state student, it's one of the most cost-effective schools you can go to, and they offer a lot of scholarships. So that's another reason why I wanted to go there. But yeah, my plan was just to work a lot during my gap years and try to save up enough money to pay for my rent, at least for the first year, and then figure it out as I got in. And so now that I'm in vet school, I did save enough money to like move and everything, which was really nice. And now that I'm a vet student, I work still.
Okay,
So
and your plan is to be a specialist. So there are different, when
okay.
people think of vets, they think of that person that you go in and you take your dog or your cat, and
Mm-hmm.
you only think of the kind of the traditional
Mm-hmm.
home animals. But I mean, you need a vet for every animal. So you not only have studied every animal, which is amazing to me. When you're like, no, every animal. I'm like, what does that mean? Every animal? You're like, every animal.
Literally
That's
all of
incredible.
them. Yeah.
Right. And what is your plan as a specialist? What does that mean? What does that
Yeah.
look like?
So
And by the way, we have 7 minutes and 15 seconds. Go ahead.
okay, so just like with human medicine, if you have a brain issue, you go to a neurologist. If you
Yeah.
have a bone issue, you go to a orthopedic doctor. Veterinary medicine is the same way. So we have the same sort of specialty focus areas that you could be in. And so I'm very interested in cardiology. And so I would finish vet school, do a 1 year rotating internship, which just means you go to a hospital and work really, really hard for a year to kind of get your feet wet and know general medicine, and then after that you do a residency program in the area that you're interested in. So for me it would be cardiology, so I would do a 3 year residency program just on cardiology, how the heart works, different drugs and things that you could use for the heart, different disease processes and testing modalities essentially. And you do that for 3 years, and then once you graduate you can work as a specialist and do whatever you specialize in. So for me it would be
Wow,
cardiology.
incredible. Okay, so the part of
Mm-hmm.
Podbites is we want to inform people, inspire them, ignite them to action. We've talked about that.
Yeah.
One thing I wanted to do is I know that there are things that I didn't know, so I'm calling them my didn't knows. You told me that growing up you went to vet
Mm-hmm.
camp. I didn't know there was such a thing. I know there were places you can go and see pets and see
Yes.
animals, and there are vet offices maybe where you
Mm-hmm.
can intern, but vet camp. Tell me what that was like and what that brought to you, kind of in your journey. What sorts of things did we put together? So I'm trying to kind of go down a timeline. So you did vet school. Tell me about vet
Yeah.
school.
So the vet camp,
Yes,
right?
vet camp.
Yeah. So no, don't worry about it. So for vet camp, there was one. It's something that Purdue offers. At least that's where I went. But I've learned since being a vet student that a lot of places actually offer something like that. Florida has one. Auburn has one. But the one at Purdue that I went to, it was a week long, and you spent the night there on Purdue's campus, and every day you did something vet related. So we learned how to do blood smears. We learned how to do physical exams. We got to put our hands in cows in the stomach. There's like a thing you can do where you stick your hand in the cow's stomach and you can like feel around. Anyway, so
Oh
we got
my
to do
goodness.
that. We learned about different diseases and parasites, got to look under the microscope. It was crazy, but it was really nice because it gave me an actual view of like, hey, this is what veterinary medicine is like, and I really love it. And so I did that I think my 8th grade year, and then my sophomore year of high school. You could do it twice, and it gets more advanced the second time around, but that was great. And then just being there, I got to meet a whole bunch of other students also interested in veterinary medicine, which was nice. Again, I don't know, no one in my family is a vet, goodness.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't really have the guidance or have anyone else going through a similar thing, but going to that camp, I met a lot of students, and some of them I'm even friends with now still, and they're vets too. And so it's been really nice to just have people on the same journey as me and people to kind of like talk to all of it about, honestly. So would totally suggest if y'all are interested in veterinary medicine, go to a vet camp.
And I started talking to you and asked questions and found you was helped to find you
Mm-hmm.
through somebody who is working with a STEM camp
Mm-hmm.
in town with my daughter because Michaela wants to become a veterinarian too. And
Yeah,
so I reached out to you and like immediately you called back. You had so many other things, studying, school, life that you could be doing, but to take the time, I just really appreciated that.
anytime.
And when you think about representation, I mean, for her to be able to see you, somebody who has the same skin as you, somebody who's a woman like
Mm-hmm.
you, who she can aspire to walk in those same footsteps is incredible. So we appreciate that. Let's
Anytime.
go back again and talk a little bit about the advice. So advice that you've gotten in your life. So like I said, I'm still trying to figure out the how. You got up and just kept getting up, working, moving, all of that by
Girl.
yourself. Trying to still figure that out. So I know you did some magic somewhere. But tell me a little bit about advice that you have lived by. We have about 3 minutes. Talk a little bit about that, and then I want to recap for people after I ask you one or two more questions.
Yeah, so I think really most of it is just my family. They've always been so supportive and have helped me a lot throughout getting to vet school, just because it's not always easy. And people would tell me no a lot when I was looking to shadow. People would tell me no, and people, would not weren't always so supportive, I guess, of me going down this path, even other vets. And so that was hard. But
Mm,
my family always was really strong on pushing me to keep doing what I wanted to do and not to let other people's thoughts about the profession or other people's thoughts about whether or not I could succeed in the profession keep me from doing it. And so one of my favorite movies when I was little is called Another Cinderella Story. And there's a quote in there, I think it's Babe Ruth, but don't quote me. But it's don't let the fear of striking out keep you from playing the game. And I love that quote because it's really been the motto of my, story here is just sometimes you're going to get told no and sometimes your things aren't going to go perfectly, but that doesn't mean that you can't get where you want to go. It's just another part of your story. So that's
awesome.
kind of my advice.
Okay. And then how about the we don't need permission moment? If somebody came to you and said, I feel there's a roadblock, what would be the advice that you could give to them, to that young person who feels like they don't have the representation or they don't have the way, or even an older person to go? What would be your advice to them?
Yeah, my advice would just to be to follow your passion. If it's what you want to do and it's what you're interested in and something you really love, you don't need permission to do those things. You should be able to do it regardless just because you want to. I think we're much more capable and much stronger than we think sometimes. And so whether or not people are giving you permission to do the things, you can do it. You don't need anyone to tell you you can do something. Just do it because you want to. And with hard work, you can get there for sure.
And I know that your parents have done really great. You and your sister are doing so great. She's in school, she's in law school. Is that
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, she
Okay. And so are your parents just overwhelmed with just how you both are just doing so well and just moving forward, or is
Yep.
this old hat for them?
No, my mom talks about it every single time that we're around anyone who doesn't know us, even if they do know us. She talks about it all the time. Same with my dad. And so they're super, super proud of us. My dad was an attorney too, so he's so excited that my sister is in law school as well.
Well, that's just wonderful. I really thank you for your time. I want to give some
Yeah.
people some information, a little bit. Hey, we beat the clock because we're
Oh,
wrapping up. A bit of
okay.
information about Nia and a couple of quotes that you gave. I call these bites to go. So it's little bits
Oh, I
and
like it.
pieces that make up
Yeah.
your life. And so now we're
Yeah.
going to give a couple of those. One that I really enjoyed that you said you got from a movie, weren't sure necessarily which one, but you said, don't let the fear of striking out keep you from playing. So that's something that you live by. Also, you talked about following your passion.
Mm-hmm.
And you said that we are so much more and can do so much more. We're capable of so much more than we think we are. And
Mm-hmm.
so those are the things that you try to live by. And I have seen it. I mean, like I said, I was so just in awe of the fact that you got up, you moved, you said, this is what I want to do, and this is my plan, and you put it into action. So there is our
Look at
timer.
that. Good time.
I know. I'm excited about that. Can you let people know where to find you? Because I know you're on Instagram. You have a big presence there. Tell us about
Big presence is strong, but I appreciate that.
that.
My Instagram is becoming Dr. Nia. So becoming
Mhm.
doctor spelled out Doctor, and then Nia, my name, Nia.
Awesome.
But yeah, please say hi. I would love to talk about it. I pretty much just talk about being a vet student, but it's kind of cool sometimes. So
Yeah, you show some interesting pictures. Let me tell you,
yeah,
people. And we put a couple of those pictures out. I'm going to put something, I'm going to put your Instagram address there as
cool.
well, your handle, I guess is what it's
Yeah,
called. I'll put that out and I'll let people know that. And then I
cool.
really want you to keep in touch with us.
Yeah,
And graduation is when? In
in
May of next year?
2024, I just started a countdown for it. That's crazy. So
Well, I know it's going to be awesome. And, I'm from
yeah,
North Carolina,
yes.
so I mean, I know you get
So
lottery
you can
tickets, but I might.
come.
Okay, now see,
No,
you
you
said
can
it.
come. Don't lose contact. You can be there.
Well,
Bring
it's
Michaela
on
too.
record.
Yeah.
It is on record,
Yes.
everybody. You heard that. So thank you for the
Of
invitation. I love that.
course.
I love
Yeah, you
North
can come
Carolina.
to Raleigh.
So,
So
oh gosh. Well, thank you, Nia. You've been
of
such a
course.
treat. I really enjoyed talking to you. And
Anytime.
everybody, please take a listen, take a look at Nia's page. Is it called a page on
Yeah.
Instagram? Yeah, okay. Look at Nia's page on Instagram. Like I said, she has a couple of little dances, and you also have that shot that I love with the other vet students
Oh
because
yeah.
NC State, has what you said was good
Hmm.
representation among students,
Hmm.
but you're pushing for more and working for more with the
Yeah.
faculty. So I think that's such a great effort. So continue
Yes.
with that. All the best to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so
All
much.
right.
Bye.
Wait
Oh,
1 second. Thank you, everybody. Yeah, I'm just going to sign off. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today. We really enjoyed you coming in. We're going to have another great person on next week talking about we don't need permission. But get out there and try to exercise that we don't need permission muscle in your own life. Okay?
okay.
Thanks, and I'll talk to you soon. Be well. Bye bye,
Bye.
Nia.